everyone. Welcome to the first of a series of vlogs about my life in China. I'm going to make sure this is different from all the other white dude in China making a YouTube vlog video format, because there's gonna be a furry spin on it. Probably the only difference. If you're a fan of those videos, no skin off your back, but I feel like there's a better perspective to learn from when you're talking to a native speaker or just someone who isn't white or male. At least I'm self-aware. So how about we start with my immediate impressions right as I stepped off my plane into Beijing. My flight to China from DFW was actually around 14 to 16 hours long. I didn't sleep at all and ended up watching movies during the whole flight, one of which was a rather cute documentary on a Japanese zoo showcasing their penguin exhibit that they're famous for. Not only that, I was still wide awake making my way through the Beijing airport. Right, so there's a surprising amount of English, a functional amount to be exact, and a good handful of helpful Chinese people that helped me get my passport and visa all checked out, my luggage checked in, and as soon as I step out of the baggage claim, the representative of my employer is waiting for me inside a KFC in China. If you didn't know, quite a few US-based fast food restaurants are also in many other places around the world, one of them being China. I expected there to be fast food places here from the YouTube videos that I've watched, and from the nice woman, originally from Beijing herself, teaching me Chinese via Skype calls. I wanted to make sure I had a basic understanding of Chinese before flying to China. Man, I am fluffy. But I did not expect there to be this much English in China. I expected some, judging from the internet's obsession with poorly translated Chinese to English messages, which native speakers also get a kick out of too if they know enough English actually. Shout out to Google Translate, which does work in China, thank God. There was unfortunately a language barrier even when ordering food. I thought I knew how to order food in Chinese, but then I came to China. I had absolutely no idea. Even with all the money I paid to learn Chinese, I just don't know how to speak Chinese that well. But that's fine, since I could just point, and they'll go, and type onto their register, and they'll throw a price at you in Chinese yuan. Yeah, not dollars, yuan. There are other ways to call it like kuai, qian, renminbi, RMB for short. The currency here isn't too different outside of having only one decimal place for change instead of two, and it kind of looks and feels like monopoly money. Oh, and everything's like 6 to 7 times cheaper here, unless you buy imported goods. And by that I mean stuff from the US and other Western countries. And that includes fast food actually. You could go to a rinky-dink noodle shop and get a nice big bowl of like beef ramen noodles for 10 or 12 yuan. Whereas if you were to buy a burger and fries from McDonald's, it'd be around 26 yuan. If you don't have a weak stomach, try the authentic Chinese food here, because it's actually cheaper in the long run. I know sometimes you want a taste of home, as I tend to do that as well. If you're going to be here for some time though, you need to eat some local cuisine. You might also need to learn how to use chopsticks. You could hold it like this, for example. I use this position to shuffle food into my mouth rather than picking stuff up individually. You can also do it like this, and just like that, you can work some sticks. Don't worry, they also give you a spoon, and a fork if you ask for one, or if you look foreign enough. Sometimes on impulse, I've been given a fork and spoon along with my meals, just in case they think I don't know or completely suck at chopsticks, which I can appreciate, but I am still trying to learn. In terms of things to adjust to here, the other China vlogs I've watched have warned me about air quality and wearing a mask, the one that looks like you're a surgeon. I've only run into that problem in Beijing, and not so much in Suzhou. Beijing is a much bigger city. The DFW Metroplex, where I'm from, is less than 1.5 times bigger than all of Beijing, which is still pretty huge. Speaking of distance, I have been walking almost everywhere, either to work, to restaurants, to the subway or metro. And if I'm not walking, I'm taking public transit, buses, subways, the high-speed bullet train I took from Beijing to Suzhou. It's definitely all it's cracked up to be here in China, and I wish it were better in the States, or at least not have a negative stigma. Because it's perfectly functional getting around with public transit. All you need is some coin or a Metro card, and you're all set. You can go anywhere in China, basically. You just need to know where that is and maybe how to read some Chinese. You probably need to learn some Chinese, or maybe have a helpful friend or coworker point stuff out to you. You could also translate anything with your phone nowadays. This is my new Chinese phone, by the way. The signal on my American iPhone sucks. It just sucks. I had to cancel my service on it, not because I didn't feel like paying for 2 different lines, but I knew cell service here was going to suck. Right now I'm just using my iPhone for apps and services that aren't available in China, like Twitter and Instagram, and everything else I need is on my Huawei. I'll talk about Chinese apps and internet service in a later video, along with why you probably need a VPN even if you're not in China. I've thankfully picked up on Chinese characters through immersion alone, 2 of them being the ones they use for my current city, Suzhou. The ZH in Chinese is like a harder J sound, whereas a regular J sounds like a softer J sound. So the English down here below the characters is called pinyin. It's one of the first things you learn about when learning the Chinese language along with the 4 different tones. More on that in a different video. Now, I don't have the greatest reading ability in Chinese, but I can comprehend the spoken language at least. I know the word for translate, 翻译, and I know the phrase translate from Chinese to English, 把中文翻译成英文. And I apologize to my Chinese-speaking viewers if I butchered that. So you don't have to learn much, but basically you need to know at least how to say hello, which they do know hello, but they like it if you say 你好. I might as well talk about more of the Chinese vlogs videos, what they warned about, what they didn't warn about, all that jazz. First of all, they did talk about negative aspects of China that I did end up preparing myself for, like people spitting on the ground and the air quality thing. Oh, and a lot of people smoke cigarettes here. It's not as stigmatized as it would be in the US. Your coworkers, your friends, people you meet at a bar or in the nightclubs, they will hand you a cigarette. And just maybe you'll smoke it. As surprising as this sounds, I have never smoked a cigarette in my entire life until I arrived in China. I try to immerse myself into new cultures, and part of that was Chinese people feeding me cancer sticks, maybe 6 or 8 in a given night. More than I have ever smoked in my life, I should reiterate. All they did was make me cough, but at least I was part of a greater social understanding of the group I was in. Like, hey, I can smoke a cigarette with the locals. I guess I must be one of the cool foreigners. I was also warned about what you might call stinky tofu. That's a euphemism for cat meat or dog meat. I haven't encountered this at all, probably because you don't see that in 1st or 2nd tier cities, meaning outside of the podunks and the wilderness. There are definitely rougher parts of town that I've stumbled into, and even then, I couldn't tell you if they do that sort of thing here. More often, I've seen dogs and cats as strays and pets. And I'm not actually going to look for these places that do cook dog or cat because, first of all, gross. What I don't think they told me about is all the little mom and pop karaoke bars hidden in the city blocks, actually. So they call it karaoke here KTV. I think because it's karaoke with a big TV for lyric videos. But don't quote me on that. Usually, you'll be walking along the street late at night after work, and you're looking for some little place to rest your feet, like a restaurant or a convenience store. Then you'll hear some KTV coming from this little hallway, fairly lit. It'll take you to some stairs and up on the 2nd floor. If you walk right in, you'll see this dimly lit room that can hold maybe 20 or 30 people max. Everyone is drinking, smoking, sometimes both at the same time. They'll give you some kind of leaves and scalding hot water thing. Maybe it's good for your throat, along with some sunflower seeds or peanuts. And I've run into maybe 3 of these places just randomly walking around. One of the things I used to do back in the US was go to an area within driving distance and then just walk around and see if I could find my new favorite store or restaurant. It's a lot easier to do in China actually because everything is so much more compact and street friendly. The structure of everything is designated so that people can walk along the sidewalk and easily run into someone's small business. I would almost call it a capitalist dream. Yes, in communist China. Because you see so many restaurants, convenience stores, hair salons. There are way more shopping malls within a few kilometers as well. And they put the malls in the US to shame. Malls are dead in the US compared to China. And there's way more stuff to do in shopping malls in China than there is in 80% of malls in the US. Because so much more people live here, so you have to have areas for shopping for all the many people living in China. All 1.3 billion, actually. What I'm basically saying is that China is so much fun. It might be a little bit to adjust to, but it's so much fun to be here. And living on my own in China has been more affordable compared to the States. You have to keep in mind that the economic recession of 2008 was during my senior year of high school, so that was fun. Anyway, if you're interested at all in China, you can definitely check out these videos. This is just more for me to inform the people already subscribed to my channel from my review and analysis videos about what's going on in my life. I will be sharing these videos to my Chinese furry friends as well because they definitely want to see more of my video content. So thanks for watching. Please comment any questions or queries about China, and I'll answer them the best I can. I've only been living here for about 2 months so far, so I don't have that much experience. Before I go, I'm going to treat you to my trip to one of China's most famous spots, the Great Wall, over on the north side of Beijing, up in the mountains and such. So, enjoy!